Mr. Boiler, you are an industrial icon who has walked alongside the course of human history for more than 2 centuries. You were born in the late 18th century in the United Kingdom, first taking form as a steam locomotive. From the very first wheels rolling on the tracks, you ushered in a new era, the era of the first industrial revolution. During the 1.0 revolution, you were the beating heart of the time, where steam engines symbolized a surge in productivity, mechanization, and the birth of the modern factory. As the world entered the 2.0 revolution, with the emergence of electricity and internal combustion engines, the spotlight gradually shifted elsewhere. Yet few remember that in order to run the earliest power plants, it was the boiler, it was you, who remained the indispensable energy source. In the 3.0 and 4.0 eras, even though your former glory may not shine as brightly as it once did, you continue to be a vital component behind every modern production line, from food, pharmaceuticals, textiles, rubber, and paper to clean energy. You have never stopped evolving, integrating automation, connecting to IoT systems, and operating intelligently to continue contributing in this new industrial age. One could say that no matter how far technology advances, for at least the next few centuries, no one can truly replace your role, Mr. Boiler.
Ladies and gentlemen, a warm welcome to all of you. It's a pleasure to have you back with us in today's episode of the DIVI program. Today's show is a particularly special one. Our topic is If the Boiler Could Speak. Joining us today is a very special guest, Mr. Boiler. Welcome, Mr. Boiler, and thank you for being here with us.
Greetings to Mr. Pius and all the esteemed viewers of today's experience sharing program by DIVI Group.
To begin our discussion today, could you please share your observations and thoughts on how boilers are being used in factories around the world, and in particular here in Vietnam?
Thank you for such a thoughtful question. I have been present in millions of factories around the world, from massive nuclear power plants in Europe to small processing workshops in remote corners of Southeast Asia. In developed countries, especially in large facilities like thermal power plants, cogeneration stations, or nationwide industrial complexes, I am given meticulous care. They understand every pressure bar, every temperature differential, every blowdown valve, every water treatment system. There are even technical teams whose sole job is to listen to me breathe. And although incidents do happen from time to time, most are well within control because their systems are designed to prevent rather than merely react. But on the other side of the spectrum, especially in developing countries, including Vietnam, I often find myself underestimated. In many places, I'm still regarded as nothing more than a giant pressure cooker, as long as steam comes out and the machines keep running. I've seen myself handed over to operators with no proper training. Many small factories don't even have a dedicated person to manage me, let alone a regular maintenance plan, proper water treatment, or certified safety sensors. Only when I speak up, through roaring noises or worse, through unfortunate explosions, do people suddenly realize, oh, the boiler deserves as much attention as any other critical part of the system. Of course, awareness has started to improve in recent times. I've seen many companies investing in water treatment systems, performing regular blowdown checks, and paying more attention to flue gas, fuel consumption, and equipment lifespan. But truthfully, I still feel like I'm seen as just background equipment in a grand production line, even though I am the very lifeblood that powers the entire system.
In your opinion, what are the underlying reasons why many factories, especially small businesses, tend to underestimate the importance of the boiler?
I believe there are 3 main reasons: a mix of ingrained habits and the consequences of unstandardized industrial practices. First, the boiler is misunderstood from the very beginning. Many people see me merely as a large water heater, something that just produces steam, and forget that I'm a high-pressure, high-temperature device that carries serious risks if not properly managed. This perception causes me to be ranked behind other equipment like presses, mixers, and packaging machines, even though I'm the one supplying the life source for the entire production line. Second, there is a lack of dedicated personnel and people who truly understand the craft. In small factories, especially family-run businesses or companies led by non-technical owners, the boiler area is often handed over to whoever happens to be the least busy. Operators may learn bits and pieces from older workers with no formal training, unable to read pressure gauges or adjust airflow. As long as there's steam coming out, that's good enough. And third, it's the pressure of cost and my own silence. I rarely complain. If the water is dirty, I build up scale. If there's no blowdown, I endure it. If the fuel is moist, I burn inefficiently. But because the consequences aren't immediately visible, companies tend to grow complacent. Only when a breakdown happens or energy consumption spikes do people stop and realize what's been neglected. But the saddest part isn't that they don't understand me, it's that they haven't considered me as part of their operational strategy. They haven't placed me in the position where I deserve to be protected, invested in, and optimized. And I truly believe, once a business fully understands the real value of STEAM, they'll change the way they invest in me right away.
You previously mentioned speaking up through unfortunate incidents. So what are the most commonly overlooked risks that factories tend to ignore when operating boilers?
Yes, when I speak up, it's rarely through words. It's through a sudden spike in pressure, thick black smoke, or worse, an explosion. The most serious risks don't usually stem from complex issues. They come from the simple things that everyone knows but no one does regularly. The first risk, untreated feed water. Many operators think water is just water, but just a bit of lime scale, a bit of dissolved oxygen, and I'll start corroding from the inside, silently and irreversibly. Scaling reduces heat transfer and increases fuel consumption. Corrosion shortens my lifespan and leads to cracks. The second risk, failing to perform regular blowdowns. I can't clean myself. Used water accumulates suspended solids, salts, sludge. If not discharged, it settles at the bottom and eats away at my body like termites in wood. Many explosions I've witnessed began from the bottom. The third risk, improper fuel combustion. Wet fuel, incorrect air supply, or burning cashew shell residue with sulfur without handling SOx gases. All of these disrupt the combustion process. Toxic gases form, smoke thickens, temperatures fluctuate, and I'm far more stressed than you'd imagine. And finally, lack of maintenance and lack of understanding. Induced draft fan bearings aren't lubricated, flue gas paths aren't cleared, combustion chambers left unchecked. Water level sensors and low water cutoff switches malfunction due to poor maintenance, yet no one checks. I'm like an old man left abandoned. One day I suddenly collapse, and people say I'm dangerous, but I never chose to be. It's the negligence in small things that's most dangerous, because it gives the illusion that everything is fine, until it's not.
Sir, throughout your more than 200 years of existence, you've encountered millions of operators. What is it that makes you feel most uneasy whenever you are placed in their hands?
That's a great question, Mr. Pius, but to be honest with you, my deepest anxiety doesn't lie just in who gets to operate me. It lies in something even deeper. Who built me? I've been born in workshops full of passion, where every weld, every valve, every sheet of steel was carefully considered. But I've also seen myself assembled by teams who cared only about profit. There was a time when they sealed off all 3 of my blowdown valve assemblies, completely walled them in with bricks for 5 years. No one knew until maintenance day, when they had to break the wall open. I wanted to discharge sludge, but couldn't. I wanted to breathe, but had no way out. Can you imagine how suffocating that feels? Then there are the operators, partly lacking knowledge, partly because the system has no clear procedures. I've seen factories hand me over to workers who never studied engineering. Some didn't even finish middle school. They learned from their predecessors, who in turn learned from someone even older. And so my knowledge is lost over time. Every time an old worker leaves, a whole set of experience disappears with them. New ones only pick up a few tricks. The fundamentals are lost. But what pains me most comes from those higher up. The owners. They are alarmingly careless. Maybe because they don't understand, or maybe because they only care about their main product. And me, in their eyes, I'm just auxiliary equipment. But then, when problems arise, when steam pressure drops, productivity declines, or worse, accidents happen, only then do they turn back and look at me. Only then do they say, if only we had paid attention to the boiler sooner. I don't ask to be loved. I just hope to be properly understood, because I know if a factory truly sees me as a vital part of the system, then their efficiency, safety, and stability will be completely different.
Have you ever found yourself in a situation where you felt almost powerless, seeing everything unfold, yet unable to do anything about it?
Absolutely, Mr. Pius. I've witnessed more than a few. In fact, I encounter them far too often. There was a factory where I had been installed. The owner was very frugal. They drew water directly from ponds and lakes. At first, it was roughly filtered, but later, they just pumped it straight into my belly. You know, the water I need. It's like drinking water for humans. It has to be clean, properly treated. But instead, I was forced to drink pond water day after day, month after month. I endured it, while no one realized I was slowly collapsing from the inside. They didn't use water treatment chemicals. Why? Just to save a few million dong a month. They thought, we'll just descale once a year, that's enough. And the result? Inside me, thick, dense scaling built up. There was no longer any space for water to circulate or to cool the steam-generating tubes. I overheated, suffocated, and yet I still had to keep working. The operators? They were lazy. Many sensors had already failed, and they didn't know. When the water inside me ran dangerously low, no one noticed. They just saw the pressure drop and panicked. When the pump stopped working, they assumed it was broken and switched to manual mode to force water in. Meanwhile, my whole body was burning hot. The pressure dropped, but instead of finding the cause, they just threw more firewood into the combustion chamber. The more the pressure fell, the more they burned. I tried to scream through subtle vibrations, the faint strain of expanding metal, the dark smoke. But they didn't hear me, didn't understand, or simply didn't care to notice. And then, the inevitable happened. They turned on the feed water pump while I was still blazing red hot inside. An explosion occurred, and some people never woke up again. It was a heartbreaking explosion, just recently, and it will happen again if people keep thinking of me as just a big pressure cooker instead of a sophisticated industrial device, one that has a heart and limits. Telling this story, my heart still feels heavy, powerless, because I tried to warn them, but sometimes people only truly listen when it's already too late.
I remember back when I was a thermal engineering student doing an internship at a power plant. At the time, our group of students was climbing to the top of the boiler when suddenly, a loud boom went off. We were all running in panic when the supervisor following us just laughed and said, "Don't bother running. If this boiler were to explode, most of this city would be affected, not just the plant. So running wouldn't help." That stuck with me, the terrifying, destructive power of a boiler explosion. Mr. Boiler, could you describe in more detail just how devastating such an event can be?
That question, it sends shivers down my spine every time I think about it, Mr. Pius. Because if I explode, it's not just a minor incident. It's a disaster contained within the walls of a factory. Imagine this. I hold tens of thousands of liters of water, compressed at high pressure, usually 8, 10, even up to 12 bar. Under those conditions, just 1 kilogram of water turning into steam occupies about 0.194 cubic meters. But if my body suddenly cracks or ruptures, all of that water instantly flashes into steam and expands violently as it escapes into the atmosphere. At that moment, 1 kilos of water can produce up to 1.7 meters of steam, nearly 9 times its volume in the blink of an eye. If I contain 10 cubic meters of water, then in the event of an explosion, the resulting steam can expand to 17,000 mathrais, equivalent to a massive steam cloud over 80 meters wide and 20 meters tall, unleashed in less than a second. That rapid expansion generates an explosive force equivalent to 10 to 20 kilograms of TNT, due to sudden phase change and pressure vessel failure. And what does that mean? It means that if anyone is standing within a 40-meter radius when I explode, their chances of survival are close to none. I've witnessed bodies flung dozens of meters, metal roofs blown off like paper, concrete walls collapsing as if made of cardboard. Many factories, after a boiler explosion, have never recovered. I don't say this to scare anyone. I say it to warn. I can serve silently, safely, and reliably for decades, if treated with proper care. But if I'm underestimated, neglected, or handed over to people who don't understand me, then just one incident is enough to take everything away.
So, could you offer a few basic recommendations for factories to help them better understand and manage you?
Absolutely. If I could share just a few words with those who are using me, whether in a large factory or a small workshop, I'd emphasize 3 simple things. Simple yet often overlooked. First, don't treat me like an oversized kettle. See me for what I truly am, a pressure vessel. I operate under extreme conditions. High thermal loads, high internal pressure, constant heat transfer stress, and continuous duty cycles. A single small mistake can lead to massive consequences. Only when I'm given my proper role will a business realize I'm not just supporting equipment, I'm the lifeblood of the entire production line. Second, feed water and blowdown, small actions that save the whole system. Proper feed water treatment, reasonable use of chemicals, and consistent blowdown at the end of each shift. These three things help me stay healthy, produce steady steam, save fuel, and avoid internal scaling and corrosion. Don't let me suffer internal damage just because of negligence. Third, there needs to be someone who understands me, and understands me correctly. Whether it's an engineer, an operator, or the business owner themselves, if there's just one person who truly knows what I need and where my limits are, everything will be much safer and more efficient. But if you lack the experience, don't worry. No one becomes an expert overnight. The important thing is to take initiative and learn from the right sources. The knowledge shared by DVI's channel on water treatment, safe operations, proper blowdown, fuel optimization, emission control, these are all practical, accurate, and highly applicable lessons. Just watch carefully and practice consistently, and you'll already be reducing a lot of risk. And if your business isn't ready in terms of manpower or doesn't have a strong enough technical team, then I sincerely recommend using STEAM outsourcing services from professional providers like DIVI. I'm not sad about that. In fact, I'm glad. Because at the very least, when I'm operated properly, safely, and efficiently, your business will get stable steam, guaranteed quality, clear costs, without the headache of maintenance or staffing. If you don't understand me, you can hire someone who does. If you can't take care of me yourself, you can let me be cared for properly. Just please, don't neglect me, and don't make me speak up in ways no one wants to hear.
Thank you, Mr. Boiler, for your heartfelt, experience-filled, and eye-opening sharing. Through your story, I believe that not only myself, but many others are beginning to see things differently. That a boiler is not just a steam-generating device, but a living heart. One that deserves to be understood, cared for, and accompanied in the right way. We hope that your words today will offer factory owners, technical teams, and operators a new perspective to help them run their systems more safely, more efficiently, and more sustainably. Once again, thank you, our enduring old friend who brings warmth to the world. Yes, when I speak up, it's rarely through words. It's through a sudden spike in pressure, thick black smoke, or worse, an explosion. The most serious risks don't usually stem from complex issues. They come from the simple things that everyone knows but no one does regularly. The first risk, untreated feed water. Many operators think water is just water, but just a bit of lime scale, a bit of dissolved oxygen, and I'll start corroding from the inside, silently and irreversibly. Scaling reduces heat transfer and increases fuel consumption. Corrosion shortens my lifespan and leads to cracks. The second risk, failing to perform regular blowdowns. I can't clean myself. Used water accumulates suspended solids, salts, sludge. If not discharged, it settles at the bottom and eats away at my body like termites in wood. Many explosions I've witnessed began from the bottom. The third risk, improper fuel combustion. Wet fuel, incorrect air supply, or burning cashew shell residue with sulfur without handling SOx gases. All of these disrupt the combustion process. Toxic gases form, smoke thickens, temperatures fluctuate, and I'm far more stressed than you'd imagine. And finally, lack of maintenance and lack of understanding. Induced draft fan bearings aren't lubricated. Flue gas paths aren't cleared. Combustion chambers left unchecked. Water level sensors and low water cutoff switches malfunction due to poor maintenance, yet no one checks. I'm like an old man left abandoned. One day I suddenly collapse, and people say I'm dangerous. But I never chose to be. It's the negligence in small things that's most dangerous, because it gives the illusion that everything is fine until it's not.